Hey guys, welcome back to Little Boy Customs. Today we're going to be working on hard mounting the bed to the frame. So the first thing that I've done is I took the jacks, and as you can see I got the bed the way I want it. Its body lines are matching up pretty well. I stuck this piece of 2x4 in there. That's the distance that I want the gap to be, so I stuck it in there that way I can push the bed all the way to the up to the cab and still have this gap here. Now once we hard mount the bed onto the frame, then that board there will be coming back out. But that'll be the gap that I want. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work on the front side up here. Now I left this part of the floorboard in from the bed, and underneath that is a bracket that runs all the way across, and that's where the front mounts were for the original bed. I'm going to leave those in there, and I'm actually going to work off of those in order to build a new mounting bracket that runs across also and welds into this frame right down here. So I scrounged around here in the shop and I found me a 2-inch by 4-inch piece of square tubing, and that's what I'm going to use in order to make this all work out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this square tubing, place it underneath the bed there, and we'll go through the original holes that was in the bed, and we'll try to mark where the bolt will actually come into this and screw into this. Well, nobody said I was ever a genius. Man, that sucks. Pry this one out real quick. Now I've lost 2 washers and a nut because I don't know what to do with them. They never made it to the truck. Problem number 2 that I'm now facing. I fixed the bracket problem. I'll show you all that here in just a second. But the second problem I'm facing is the bolts I bought are too short to go through the what's left of the bed and completely through here. So I'll grab the largest washer I have and we'll just make a relief. Because I'm too lazy to go down to the store and buy the correct length. Alright guys, so other than the 2x4 piece of metal that I stuck underneath there, and it is bolted in, you can see it right there. It is bolted in place and the truck bed is setting on the frame by itself. It's not welded in yet, but the lines, they are pretty close, as you can see. Now the other thing I had to do was, it was still a little bit off, so I had to use some shims, and I don't know what kind of metal, what you would call this or whatever, but this is what I used. It was on my property when I bought it, so it's just been sitting in my scrap pile for a long time. It comes in really, really long sticks of it, but I ended up just cutting little 4-inch sections of that off, and then using it as shims. Underneath, you can see one sticking out right there. So there's one on that side, and then there's a couple over here on this side as well. And that got it to the right height that I wanted. Now, I haven't welded any of that in because I still need to set up the center mark across here for the bed. And then we'll set up a center mark across the cab as well, and we'll make sure that the bed is in line with the cab the way I want it as well. And then I'll weld those little shims onto that 2x4 metal, and then we'll remount all the bed back onto that. And then of course we'll weld the little shims onto the frame as well. So the bed will unmount from that 2x4 and you can remove the bed, but otherwise, that is all going to stay in place. Next thing I'm going to work on is getting the back side here to where I don't need these jack stands anymore for it as well. I was fortunate enough to remember to keep the back half of my frame. I whacked it off, and so I've been hanging on to this whole time. I didn't hang on to it for this purpose here. What I was hanging on to it for was to get the measurement from here to here on how far apart those were in order to remount the bumper back on. But I think it's going to come in handy as anyway. So on the top side, I've already dismounted all the little hardware that's on it, and what I mean by that is all this stuff right here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take plasma and we'll cut these rivets out. That'll release these. We'll get rid of this bracket here and clean it up just a little bit, and then we'll start taking some measurements and seeing how much of this we can cut down, and then how it will mount onto the back half there. We'll mount it up to the bottom half of the bed, and then we'll start making brackets that run across the existing frame to weld into this. All right, guys, the bed is attached to the frame. It can be dismounted by unbolting a couple of things, which we still have tons of work to do. But let me show you everything that we've done today. If you may have questions or whatever from the time lapse, but here we go. So up front, we did 2x4 piece of metal, and then we made little shims. We welded all those together and then welded them to the frame. Those bolts right there run through the original bracket and into the 2x4 on both sides there. And then back here on the back, we use the original frame, a 4x4 piece of metal. We welded that in between the new frame rails that are actually the car frame rails. And then we welded the old frame onto the 4x4 piece. And they attach just like they did factory. So the bed is actually all attached. It's underneath its own support. There's nothing holding it on other than what we built for it. The gap looks really good without the board in there, which we ended up going with the factory grit gap, what would have been the same as from coming off the factory line. So this gap's the exact same. From here, we still need to make the subframe for the bed that will cover up this hump here and go from there. So I'm pretty happy with what we've done. The truck is now mobile again. It doesn't have to stay in this exact spot because the bed needed to be supported by jack stands and jacks and all kinds of stuff. So I'm pretty happy by that. All right, guys, that'll do it for this episode here. I'm really happy that the bed is now finally attached to the frame. That means that we can now move the truck around a little bit, which I need to do. That way I can get my welder to the front side of the truck and finish welding some of that stuff up. We still have tons of work to do on this bed here. As you see, there's no floor in it. So we still have to do that part of it and build up a subframe for the floor to all set on. So that will probably be the next thing we do, either that or we're going to go move to the front and start putting some front sheet metal on and get that taken care of with the cab, windshield wipers, that kind of stuff. This truck is going to have windshield wipers, hopefully. Still working on it, but it looks like we're going to be able to use some windshield wipers and get it installed in the truck. That is the plan, at least. If you're interested in following us on the behind the scenes kind of stuff on the truck, we post over on Instagram and at Facebook. There's links down below for both of those. We post more on the Instagram side of things other than Facebook, but I'm working on it. I'm working on posting more on the Facebook side of things. So until next time, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And until next time, be safe.